Hey, what's up everyone? John here. Welcome back to another edition of No Cap, my weekly review and reaction to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This week we are talking episode 3, Power Broker. Holy sh**. What a wild episode. The Flag Smashers are extreme, New Cap is feeling the pressure, and we've got reunions galore with the return of Sharon Carter and, of course, Zemo. This episode had action. This episode had fashion. This episode did have answers, but also raised a few new questions, so let's get right into it. An unlikely alliance. Okay, so at the end of the last episode, Sam and Bucky decided to pay a little visit to Helmut Zemo. You know, the guy who killed a bunch of people, framed Bucky for it, then put Bucky back under mind control and successfully tore the Avengers apart. Yeah, that fucking guy. Bucky decides to talk to Zemo alone because, you know, that worked out so well before. And fucking Zemo. He begins to say the mind control words just to with Bucky. What a guy. They have a chat, then we find out that Bucky has staged a prison riot and successfully broke Zemo out of prison. Also that Zemo can help them find who is responsible for creating this new super soldier serum. Now remember, Zemo does not like superheroes. He does not like the Avengers. He doesn't like super soldiers. In this episode, he mentions how he ended the Winter Soldier program before. Yeah, by shooting them all in the head while they were frozen. But for the time being, his goal does kind of align with that of our heroes. The super soldier serum falling into the wrong hands is no good for anyone. Zemo, Baron, villain, cultured king? Leave it to Marvel Studios and showrunner Malcolm Spellman to actually make us like Zemo more than we do this new Captain America. So in the MCU, Zemo's whole thing is that he's terrific at playing these mind games. So he does a little bit of antagonizing by reading out of Bucky's notepad. A quick side question, how the hell did he even get the notepad? Anyway, Sam notices that it's Steve's old notepad, you know, the one from Captain America the Winter Soldier, and asks Bucky if he has listened to the Marvin Gaye album Trouble Man. Fun fact, this episode actually premiered on Marvin Gaye's birthday. Bucky responds by saying he likes 40s music, and Sam starts grilling him about it, which then leads into probably my favorite interaction in this entire episode. Zemo says, "It's a masterpiece, James. Complete, comprehensive. It perfectly captures the African-American experience." And Sam responds, "He's out of line, but he's right." Yeah, that's one of my favorite couple lines in the entire episode. I just love it. But Sam's line basically sums up Zemo's whole thing. He's not a great dude, but he usually has a good point to do what he's doing. So like, he is out of line, but he's right. Ugh, I hate that. Also, can we talk about how Zemo's got drip for days? That coat? Come on. He also shows a little more of his woke side while defending fashion choices by saying to Sam, only an American would think a fashion-forward black man looks like a pimp. Granted, it was a disguise for Sam, but it was a funny example of showing Zemo in a different light than just being like a bitter villain. Once they're in Madripoor and cause a lot of damage, Sharon saves the day and brings him to Hightown, which then brings us to the art gallery. Both Zemo and Bucky, who are both much more worldly than I expected, admire the art. The art show becomes a bit of a rave, and Zemo spends his time admiring the art some more, and then giving the internet its favorite moment. We also see a more dangerous side to Zemo, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. Madripoor and the Power Broker. Madripoor is a crime haven located just outside of Indonesia. And once we're there, we get a lot of nods to the comics. Perhaps most interestingly, the Princess Bar. It's a bar in the Marvel comics that is frequented by one Wolverine. That Power Broker is watching street art gives me real Great Gatsby, God is watching kind of vibe. We also see the Brass Monkey Saloon, another famous location from the comics. Those skulls on the wall, one can only assume that they are those of monkeys or apes, probably gorillas. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot down that theory that those were Skrull skulls, because I'm pretty sure they were gorilla skulls. The Winter Soldier showed up. He was back in full effect in this pretty epic bar fight. For real though, he was like fucking people up. He even got that classic Winter Soldier musical motif, you know, that scream. It's awesome. During the fight, people started pulling their phones out, and I thought, damn, that's not a good look, Bucky. But I didn't think anything about it afterward. But But then you realize the terms of Bucky's pardon. And I gotta give a shout out to the homie Eric Voss over at New Rockstars for pointing something out that I hadn't even considered because I was so honed in on all the action that was going on. But yeah, Bucky had strict rules he had to follow. One of them being, don't hurt anyone. Well, tell that to the crowd at the Brass Monkey Saloon. Which begs the question, what's Zemo up to? Is Zemo trying to tear Sam and Bucky apart? He can be charming and fashionable all he wants. But remember, he doesn't want any Avengers or super soldiers. He put Bucky in a situation in which he would have to hurt people under the guise of staying in character. And if Bucky does get in trouble for hurting people, does that make Sam a guilty party as well? I mean, he wasn't fighting anyone, but he didn't stop Bucky because he couldn't because they were in disguise. And he also didn't break Zemo out, but he didn't take him back to prison. I don't know, but we can't trust Zemo. We can't lose sight of that. Also, we got a dope ass song put into this episode. We heard Amats by Filipino rapper Shanti Dope, and I'm gonna tell y'all right now, it is a certified bang. Okay, so the Power Broker. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they do. The show seems to imply that the Power Broker is a man, but until we see who it is, we can't make any assumptions. But we do know that they are the king of the crime-ridden kingdom that is Madripoor. And we do know that they recruited and funded former Hydra scientist Dr. Wilfred Nagel to complete his development of a new super soldier serum. We also know that they are not too happy with Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers. Remember those really dramatic texts Carly got in episode 2? But who could the Power Broker be? Could it be Mephisto? Psych! A late April Fool's Day joke for you. But really, could the Power Broker be Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross? We know he's attempted to recreate the super soldier serum before. This one is a little more out there. But could it be Dr. Zola from the previous Captain America films? In the comics, he does create himself an android body, of which there was actually an Easter egg hidden in Captain America the First Avenger. And of course, we saw him as an artificial intelligence algorithm in Captain America the Winter Soldier. So why couldn't he pop up again in a Captain America-centric series such as this one? Could the Power Broker be Ultron? Oof, that would be the twist of the century. Or could it be the Mandarin, who will indeed pop up in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings? He is the leader of the Ten Rings. He's a crazy powerful crime lord, obsessed with his own reputation. And the Ten Rings is a huge organization. They've been sprinkled in throughout the entirety of the MCU. We first saw them in Iron Man. The last, I think, notable appearance was in the first Ant-Man film, where they were trying to acquire that David Cross Yellow Jacket tech. So clearly they're trying to get on the same level playing field as the Avengers. Just some thoughts. Sharon Carter, the John Wick of the MCU. So Sharon Carter, former S.H.I.E.L.D. and CIA agent, has been branded as an enemy of the state for her involvement in aiding Steve Rogers, Sam Wilson, and Bucky Barnes. Remember, she stole Cap's shield and Falcon's wings in Captain America Civil War. But unlike our other heroes, she was never pardoned, and she has become grizzled. She takes out this crime boss named Selby and a bunch of her goons. Like I mentioned before, she saved Sam, Bucky, and Zemo after that John Wick style bounty was put on them, you know, like the text popping up on the cell phones. She also helps get them to Dr. Nagel, who's got a lab set up in a container shipyard. And while they're questioning Nagel, she's outside kicking fucking ass. Yeah, Sharon is single-handedly fucking up every single person heading towards Nagel's lab. And I'm talking like them up. She was using her fists, she was throwing knives, she was stealing guns, and the way the scene was shot with those like really long takes, it really did kind of feel like something out of a John Wick movie. And there's a good reason for that. The writer of this episode, Derek Kolstad, is actually a writer and the creator of the John Wick franchise. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I absolutely loved this sequence. It's probably my favorite of the episode. I think it's really towing the line of just how brutal and mature the MCU can really get. A huge shout out to the fight choreographers, the stunt doubles, the cinematographer, and Sharon herself, Emily Van Camp, who was actually doing a lot of the fighting herself. Yeah, this whole sequence was fantastic. So props to all parties involved. By the end of the scene, we see Sharon get into a car where she tells the driver about a couple of problems they now have. So who exactly is she working for? Sword? Shield? Is she the power broker? I doubt it, but I do think she is working for the power broker, which would make sense because, like I mentioned before, the power broker went out of their way to recruit a former Hydra and CIA scientist with Nagel, so why wouldn't they want the opportunity to have a master assassin that was a former SHIELD and CIA agent? Just another thought. Nagel and the super soldier serum. So we've briefly talked about Wilfred Nagel, who has developed a new version of the super soldier serum. He initially worked for Hydra, then worked for the CIA, got turned to dust, came back, then moved to Madripoor and worked for the power broker. In the comics, Nagel was one of the scientists who worked with Dr. Erskine on Project Rebirth, the program in which Isaiah Bradley was given the serum. In The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Nagel was able to replicate the serum using Isaiah's blood. He was also able to modify the serum to avoid any noticeable gains and keep it subtle. And man, this dude looked and sounded like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. We learned that he was able to make 20 doses, all of which were stolen by Carly Morgenthau. Before we learn much else, Zemo shoots him. See, I told y'all, he's up to no good. Zemo said earlier, I ended the Winter Soldier program once. I have no intention of leaving my work unfinished. So of course, he's going to kill any remnants of Hydra or anyone looking to create more super soldiers. Then, as our heroes are looking to shoot their way out of this mess, we see Zemo, Baron Zemo, put on that classic purple ski mask and winds up kicking a lot of ass too. I sometimes forget that he was introduced in Civil War as a Sokovian special ops agent, but because he's a smart dude, he knows not to pick a fist fight with any Avengers. But yeah, he kicks a lot of ass and then finds the dopest ride he can. What the are the Flag Smashers up to? We didn't spend a whole lot of time with this group of super soldiers in this episode, but we did learn a few things. Someone very important to them died of tuberculosis, which apparently is common in these displacement camps. And actually, it makes sense that they would be stealing and distributing vaccines and medications and whatnot. Now, it should be noted that apparently there were a number of rewrites to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier because it originally included a storyline that was unintentionally a little too similar to the actual coronavirus pandemic that we were experiencing in real life. So it appears some stuff may have been changed. But for now, it doesn't seem to be impacting or affecting the show too much. So apparently the Flag Smashers want to give the serum to kids in these camps? I don't know. Seems like an odd motivation, but I think there's more to it. Hopefully we'll get to see what exactly it is that they want in the next episode. Okay, so I won't lie. I wasn't totally against the Flag Smashers up until this episode. They were helping people and, like I said, distributing vaccines. But Carly blew up a building with a bunch of people still inside of it. And even if those people were sitting on 6 months worth of supplies, killing them is incredibly extreme and unjustified. Even her partner in the car was really taken aback by it. John Walker is feeling the pressure. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. At the top of the episode, we see an ad for the Global Repatriation Council, or the GRC. And it's meant to be this feel-good commercial that showcases how this organization is assimilating those who returned from the blip back into society. But then we see a militarized police van with that GRC logo plastered on the side. And who do we see pop out of it? John Walker. He enters this home with a no-knock raid and says weird shit like, don't give them time to run, or don't give them time to breathe. Like, dude, what? Then, when their witness isn't giving them any information and says he doesn't know anything, Walker just says, bullshit, that's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
I don't know, it's weird. He's acting like a super aggressive cop. Then this dude spits in John Walker's face. Understandably, John gets real angry and he yells out, do you know who I am? And I can understand getting heated about some disrespectful shit like someone spitting in your face. But dude, you're Captain America. I don't know. I I think he's cracking under the pressure. And I know there are some theories out there that maybe John Walker has taken a super soldier serum of some kind. And if that's true, I don't know, maybe rage is some sort of side effect. But I'm starting to think that he hasn't taken the serum and instead might resort to some pretty extreme lengths to get this respect he wants. Maybe he'll reach out to the power broker, or maybe he'll go after Bucky if he takes out a Winter Soldier. I don't know, that seems like a pretty good way to earn respect. Either way, it seems like Sam and Bucky are on his radar now for breaking Zemo out. And once the videos of Bucky fighting in the bar hit the internet, I don't know, not gonna be a pretty picture. Wakanda is in the building. As Sam, Bucky, and Zemo travel to Latvia, Bucky decides to take a walk, but we see that he has actually found a couple of Wakandan Kimoyo beads, which he follows only to be met by Ayo, a member of the Dora Milaje, or the Wakandan Special Forces, and she is there for Zemo, because after all, he is responsible for King T'Chaka's death. It was really cool to see Florence Kasumba back as Ayo. She was actually the first Dora Milaje we met in the MCU. She made her first appearance in Captain America Civil War, and then we saw her in Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War. What does this mean? I mean, I certainly wasn't expecting to see any sort of Black Panther crossover in this series, but it makes sense, especially since Wakanda has been mentioned in every single episode thus far, including Sam reminding Bucky that Zemo killed King T'Chaka and that the Wakandans haven't forgot about it. Now, I seriously doubt we'll get any hint of the new Black Panther in this series, since a lot of this show was filmed prior to Chadwick Boseman's death, but maybe they added something new because they did a bunch of reshoots. Either way, we may get some insight into Bucky's time as the White Wolf and see what exactly Wakanda wants with Zemo, because T'Challa turned Zemo in. Do they want to turn him in again? Do they want to try him in Wakanda? Do they want to kill him? It's tough to say, but seeing Wakanda's involvement in all of this just goes to show how involved they are in the world now. This episode was directed by Carrie Skoglund, written by Derek Kolstad, with music by Henry Jackman. Whew. This episode was jam-packed with a lot of action, so it's easy to miss some of those story details. And even though Zemo's jailbreak might have been a little too easy, I thought it was fun. And they seem to be changing Zemo's MCU backstory just a little to align a little bit more with what's presented in the comics. But nothing too jarring. I'm sure we'll learn more as the season goes on and it'll make a little more sense. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite episode thus far. I find it highly enjoyable, especially if you like action, you're gonna love this episode. And I can't wait to see what they do next. Those are my thoughts. Now, I'd love to hear yours. So please drop your thoughts and theories in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And also, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. All right, see you next time.